This video is made possible by Humble Bundle. To the uninitiated, Humble is a website that specializes in bundles that include audiobooks, regular books, comic books, video games, mobile apps, software apps, original creations, and unholy amalgamations of all of the above. But for this video, we're going to be focusing on Humble's monthly subscription service, Humble Choice. Humble Choice offers a curated selection of games that you can choose from based on the subscription tier that you pay for. I wanted to highlight a few of December's games to help you decide if you should subscribe for this month's choice. The first game that I wanted to highlight is Frog Detective. There are two of these games in the bundle and they're great. Frog Detective is an adorable casual game that is great if you're in for a quick de-stress after, I don't know, say a salty shootout in the latest Pew Pew game. Frog Detective's biggest flaw, however, is an incredibly short gameplay. This would normally amount to, I don't know, probably a single quest by most game standards. Luckily, it has enough cute charm and witty writing to keep itself afloat. It's easy to recommend to anyone just wanting a relaxing and silly adventure that only takes an hour or less to beat. Frog Detective's biggest charm comes from its cute animation style and almost a nostalgia-like vibe that, at least to me, kind of brings me back to the days of PS2 or just kind of that era of gameplay. Maybe it's just me, but that's kind of how I feel about it. So if you're in the mood for something lighthearted, that's one of the highlights of December for me. Another one of December's big games, at least on the opposite end of the spectrum, is The Beast Inside. It's a thriller/survival horror with a great story and decent visuals. I'm planning to do a more in-depth breakdown of it later on the channel, so please keep an eye out for it here. But to keep it brief and for our Humble monthly rundown, I will say this. The game is a pretty bog-standard run-of-the-mill horror, but if you like scary games, then it's relatively easy to recommend this. Any horror aficionado could easily appreciate what they were going for here. But the main downside of this game is it does rely a bit heavily on jump scares. That aside, it has a rather gripping story and smooth gameplay, with, as I said, decent visuals. So if you're in the mood for something spooky and don't mind being jump scared, then that's why I include this in the Humble highlights for December. So, on to our next one. Well, our next two, rather. Both of the two that we're about to look at are Humble Originals. We'll start with Indivisible, a platformer and RPG that's got a unique combat system that I find both interesting, fun, and also kinda gimmicky. But take my recommendation with a grain of salt, as I haven't played too much into the game at this time. The art, however, is quite stunning and the voice acting is great. Overall, it does have moments where the game is pretty enjoyable, but there is one thing to me that grates me immensely, and that is the way that they chose to do audio and dialogue in the game. I feel like they were trying to go for a surround sound feel, but instead it felt like a really cheap gimmick where they use ambient sound. I don't know how to describe it. If one person's talking, they're going to be talking in your left headphone. If the other person's talking, they'll be talking in your right headphone. And there's very little overlap between the ears, and that really bothered me when I was playing the game. It took away a lot of enjoyment from the game and frankly made it hard for me to want to keep going. Other than that though, if you can get past that, the game is fun. But here, have a listen to what I mean, because it's hard to describe but easy to show. So take a listen and watch.
Ajna, you're late.
Well, you're late. You're late.
Enough nonsense, child.
What? You smacked me. That's the nonsense.
This is training, Ajna. If you'd been paying attention, you wouldn't have gotten hurt.
I was paying attention. I just didn't expect a cheap shot from my dad.
The last game that I wanted to highlight was One Step from Eden, and sweet gravy is this game easily my favorite game of the bundle. I'm sure that this game's reach is incredibly small, but to anyone who has ever played the Mega Man Battle Network series or Slay the Spire, you are in for a treat. This game is a punishing roguelike with a grid-based battle system and deck building based on spells, as they call them. The roguelike elements are executed well enough where the gameplay doesn't feel repetitive, something that I found that a lot of roguelikes can suffer from. But this game has more than just that. The soundtrack is so good. It is top 5 soundtracks that I have heard in a long time. You have 9 different characters to choose from, each with vastly different playstyles from each other, so the game gets to stay spicy no matter how you play it. I think the only downside, and probably a massive one, is the fact that this game has such an incredibly difficult learning curve and has so much information to swallow at the very beginning that it's hard to recommend it to people. However, if you are willing to get past that and put in the time, I guarantee you will enjoy this game. It's got tons of positive reviews for good reason. One Step from Eden is an easy recommendation from me and the key highlight of December's Humble Choice. About this time, some of you might be wondering what exactly is Humble Bundle and why the name Humble. Well, that's because Humble Bundle is actually part charity organization. A lot of their bundles allow you to choose their own price in order to donate most of it to charity, while also supporting the developers in the process. It really is a great thing, and if you want to be part of it, then it would be awesome. December is a great time to join, as right now they're offering an incentive where you can pay $12 and get all the games in the Humble Choice. Normally you'd have to pay $20 and you'd only get to keep 9. So this is a great time to subscribe. Like I said, if you're interested in this Humble Choice, you're going to get not only the games mentioned before, but you'll also get things like Overcooked 2 as well as some others. All this while being able to support charities and other good causes. Remember, Humble's more than just games and books. It's charity. You're going to be helping other people while doing it. So I'd advise you, if you like what you see and you think you might want to pick up this bundle, then there's going to be a link in the description. It'll help me out, it'll help the channel, as well as being able to still support others, and most of the proceeds that I get will also be going back into Humble, so don't worry about that. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day, and take care. See you in the next video.